Welcome back, everybody. In today's episode, we finally installed the electric hydraulic power steering pump on the Time Attack Honda Civic. Stay tuned. Okay, as you can see, I've got my new K20, K24 Frank motor in the engine bay now. I did that last weekend. I'll have an episode coming up later with that and probably some tuning. But what we're doing on this episode is we're getting rid of this, the old crank-driven power steering pump assembly and reservoir. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace it with a Luke unit. Let me see if I can find it here. There it is right there in my mess of stuff. That's the unit right there. This is the Luke electric hydraulic power steering pump. This is off of an A-class Mercedes in Europe. It's also the same pump that Porsche and BMW use in all of their motorsport applications. So all their GT3s, all their race car builds. So we're going to put this into the Civic. So we'll get started. The most complex part about this installation is actually just finding somewhere appropriate to put it in the car. This is now just a track-only car. It's not used on the street anymore, so that helps me out a bit. If it was used on the street, I'd want to have it in the engine bay somewhere or somewhere outside of the car so it's not quite as loud, because it is a big electric pump. So it will probably generate quite a bit of noise. I haven't heard it run yet, but yeah, if I was putting on a road car, I'd want to have it in the engine bay or somewhere outside of the passenger compartment. This is a Time Attack car though. I don't use it on the road anymore, and I don't care how loud it is inside. So I've come up with a solution. Sorry, I didn't film a lot of this part because a lot of this was actually just a ton of trial and error, trying to come up with the right way and right spot to mount it. But this is what I've come up with. So this is the base where the pin of the pump sits down into with a rubber grommet. And then this piece here running from this foot for the roll cage, so this is thick metal here, is running from there up and tied into that crash bar there. I welded it in last night, test fit everything, kind of got it done. So I didn't film any of that. It's been extremely hot here, and I haven't wanted to bother trying to add filming to what I already have to get done on this car. So I decided to do it today though. It's hotter even yet, but I promised you all an episode on doing this. So I am delivering. Here is the episode on the electric hydraulic power steering. A couple things. I don't have HVAC in the car, so what I've done is I've put a fitting right up there. A -6, there's going to be another one there as well. That's where the pressure and the return come through. Let me go to the other side in the engine bay here. Here's the fitting in the engine bay right there. It's actually going to point that way. And the line's going to go from there all the way down to that blue AN fitting on the rack there. That's my existing one. That's how I had it run before. The lines, I've already had the lines made actually. These are just heavy duty hydraulic lines. I've used these a bunch for power steering and they're great. They've got the 4,000 PSI burst strength, I think, or something like that on them. So this one doesn't have any marking on it. The other one does. This is the one that's going to be inside the car with me. So I want these lines to be as strong as possible because obviously I don't want to get sprayed by hydraulic fluid. They wiped it out. Anyways, it's 4,400 PSI, so far more pressure than the power steering is going to create. So let's get started on getting these into the car and see how they fit. Sorry, one thing before we start putting this all back together, I'm actually going to paint that bracket that I've put into the car there. I'm slowly going to start painting the interior of this car as I do stuff and hopefully make it look better. So let me get that done here quickly. I'll put you guys up somewhere so you can see it hopefully. Maybe not. It's going to be hard to get you in there. Anyways, I'll come back and show you what it looks like painted. Okay. A few minutes later, and there we go, all painted, ready to go. Actually, got carried away, did some more on my floor, but anyways, the important parts are all painted. We'll let that dry for an hour or two, work on some other stuff, and then we'll come back and get that pumping. Okay, so here's the high pressure inlet on the rack. For those that don't know, this is a EK Civic, but I've got a DC2 Integra GSR subframe and rack and everything swapped into this as part of my K-swap. So this will look a little bit different if you're doing this on an EK, but let's get our line in here. Threads lined up just right. Okay, we'll connect this up to this side here. Can't do this with one hand, sorry guys. Okay, there's that connected. Now, I can't do anything else inside right now because I got the paint drying, so let's leave that for a bit. We'll come back in about an hour or so and we'll get the rest of that done. Okay, so we got the high pressure side done for the electric hydraulic power steering pump, and now we need to put a cooler on it. So this is the cooler we're going to use. This is a Durell. There's the part number there, 13309. And let's unbox it here and we'll take a look at it. So that's what we're looking at. It's just a small cooler, it doesn't need a lot. It's just to cool the power steering fluid. This is the 6AN one, so it's got 6AN fittings on the end. And we're going to mount this right up here like this. So you're going to mount it up in front of the transmission, kind of on a little bit of an angle. And we're going to see what the temperatures are like. If they're really hot, then I'll plumb some cool air blowing in here, but if not, I think just the ambient air will probably help keep the fluid cool. So we're going to build some brackets off of here to hold this here, and then we're going to build the lines. So we'll get started. Okay, so revision number one, we're going to try to build mounts off of here. And what I'm envisioning is using these existing screws. Here's a piece of flat stock that I bent. And we're going to put a hole in it and mount this one just like this. And then the next one with the longer leg up here like this. And then we'll do some rad fan zip ties through the corn into this and see how that holds it in place. So I got this one built. Now I need to make one with a leg. So this is a 1-inch leg. I need to make one with a 2-inch leg. So we'll get started on that now. We'll fast forward to me having that done because it's boring to watch. Okay, so I have my, sorry about the fan noise. It's super hot here right now. Anyways, here's our piece of flat bar that I've cut. So I cut it 2.5 inches longer than the other one. And I've got that little mark right there. And we're going to line it up in my homemade metal brake. This is just a 10-ton press with a couple pieces of, ouch. Yep. That was loud. Okay, with a couple pieces of angle welded together to create a homemade metal brake. So let me get you on a tripod and we will do this quickly. Okay, so we'll get this in our brake. We'll get our line lined up right on the middle here. So line corresponds there. We'll get this on here and start pumping away. There we go. That's what we needed. So I'll clean up the ends and we'll flash to me test fitting it on the car. Okay, so we've got our plates now all built and bolted in place. And as you can see, I don't know if you can tell on the camera angle or not, but they're on an angle on the same plane here. So we're going to take our core and attach it here. These are pretty sturdy on here, so I think they'll be okay. And we'll get the core in. What we're going to use to attach the core is some of these. These are, what is this? Rad fan mount kit? Electric rad fan mount kit. So they're kind of like the zip ties I use to attach a rad fan to a radiator. They push through the core. I don't like them on radiators themselves for fans, but for this application, because the core is very small and light and I need something easy, this will do. So let's go ahead and get those on and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like all mounted up. One other thing that I've done is I put some foam rubber pads on here. These will go between the core and this aluminum so it doesn't wear a hole in it or damage anything. They were in the kit for these straps I'm going to use, so I decided to put them on here to give me some vibration dampening. Okay, there we have it. It's all mounted up. This is the fan ties. As you can see, it's like pretty solid in there. So you can see my fittings coming out of the top here. We're going to have two AN 45s-6s to 3/8 hose. So the 45s are kind of pointed back towards the rack of the car. And the firewall, so what we'll do is we'll drop the car down and we'll start working on that now. Okay, so as you can see down here we have our cooler. There's our lines coming up. They're going to come up over the transmission, along, follow the high pressure line and go to our firewall fitting that we have on there now. You can see I have the -6 push lock bulkhead fitting going through the firewall there, with our high pressure line. The other one's going to come out of that rack there and go to the cooler. So we'll do that quickly right now. So the old adage, measure twice, cut once. Cut this line about 2 inches too short, so it's a little tight, but I'll have to fix that up later. Shows what happens when I rush for YouTube, right? I might have enough left over here to do it actually, but we'll see. Okay, we will measure this one twice and cut once. Now the exhaust is on the back of the motor on this, so you do want to keep it away. I'm also going to put some heat protective wrap on both the high pressure and low pressure lines. And we should be good to go. I think we have enough left to replace that line maybe too. Okay, and there's our low pressure return from the cooler lines. As you can see, one comes from the rack there, and the other one goes along to there and into the car to the Okay, so I had a whole bunch of footage get corrupted, so we're skipping ahead to everything kind of installed here. Sorry everybody. So as you can see there, the two lines going up to the firewall, that's the high pressure feed and the low pressure return. High pressure feed comes out of the front, that silver fitting there. The low pressure return goes into the reservoir on the top there, the black part. The wiring is all hooked up. Let me see if I can get in there. There's the wiring there. It's 3-wire. The big red one's the main power. The brown one is the ground, and the blue one is the trigger. I have the red one hooked up to this 80 amp breaker. Don't mind the uninsulated wire there. It's I need to put some sheathing on it. But 80 amp breaker for the power steering pump. I have the feed, the trigger on wired into this switch here, and that switch is powered by the ignition. So let me turn it on here and show you. So we'll turn it to run. Fuel pump prime. Okay, so we have it in run right now. The pump is not on, but if I turn this on, there we go. The pump's running. And if I turn the key off without turning the switch off, it turns it off as well. So I can leave it on all the time if I want. So when I turn the key on, it comes back on again. But if I'm in the pits doing something with like downloading files off the ECU with the key on but not running, I can turn the pump off so I don't have that huge draw on my little PC 680 battery, because that will not last long with that pump running. As you can see here, not really to do with the power steering, but I finally mounted my ECU. I made an aluminum plate there to mount it, and I mounted the AEM inline wideband for it. Cleaned up some wiring. Still got some work to do on that. I got a couple other things I need to do as well, but on track. Just sitting here with the car not running with the pump on, turning the wheel, it feels great. It's got a decent amount of resistance to it, but it's also got quite a bit of assist. So with these tires, I wouldn't be able to really turn it without the pump running. But as soon as I turn the pump on, it makes it much easier. Actually, let me see if I can show you that. Got my steering wheel here. Turn the key on. Okay, key on, no pump. Try to turn the wheel. Okay, now we'll turn the pump on. There we go. So, yeah, as you can see, it helps out quite a bit. Really looking forward to seeing how this goes. Doing this, taking the power steering pump off of the crank or off of the belt is apparently good for 5 to 10 horsepower. So yeah, that's a pretty significant increase for the amount of work involved in putting this in. So I'm happy with that. Yeah, we'll see what it does on the dyno. Thanks everybody. If you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.